Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and today I'm going to be bringing you all of my thoughts, opinions, and feels on Evermore by Taylor Swift. It's been close to 2 months since the album came out, and that's about how much time I need to really sit with an album and dissect it. I tried to film this type of video for Folklore, and I filmed it and then immediately went and deleted all the footage and decided that was terrible. I've been contemplating about whether I wanted to film one of these videos for Evermore, and watching some other people's reviews on BookTube, I've kind of realized that I feel like I have differing opinions than other people on this album. I want to give my rankings and my perspective. When I filmed my Folklore video, I just kind of went through my ranking and discussed each song that way, and I think it's easier to go track by track, and that's sort of how I've been thinking about putting this video together. So we're just gonna do a deep dive, discuss, give you my personal thoughts and opinions on each of the songs, and then I'll give you my ranking at the end. But without further ado, we're gonna dive right on in because this is a Taylor album. There's lots to discuss. I remember the day that this album was announced. It was a Thursday morning. I had to wake up at 7 a.m. because I have classes at 9 a.m. and I like to have time to shower, get dressed, get ready, make myself breakfast, kind of get myself up and get my work space on my desk situated. I have my alarm go off on my phone. The first thing that I do is I look at my phone, clear away any notifications, and I saw an email from Taylor Nation that said something about Evermore, and I was thinking, okay, that's gonna be one of like the new Spotify chapter titles that they've announced or something. And once I opened the email, I quickly realized we were getting a new album. And so I got to have this whole deja vu moment of me immediately then going onto Taylor's social media, seeing the announcement for Evermore, and then sending it to all my friends and being like, oh my god, a new album is coming. And that was exactly what I did in July. I happened to have woken up really early that specific day that she released Folklore and like went and sent the message to all of my friends. And then that night I had a listening party with my two friends Emily and Ashley like we did for Folklore. I had my TV set up to play the music video for Willow. I had my laptop set up so I could Skype with my two friends, and then I had my phone connected to Spotify and I was listening through my set of Beats headphones. We went through track by track. We watched the music video for Willow first and then went to Spotify and listened track by track. I have to say that I enjoyed my listening experience for Evermore so much more than I did for Folklore. Like when I finished with Folklore, I was like, I don't know how I felt about that. Like it needed to sit with me. And I think that's because Folklore was such a different sound than anything I was used to for Taylor, because Reputation is my favorite Taylor Swift album, always will be. And that was my gateway album into the fandom and into the community. And I've been listening to Taylor since I was in 3rd grade, but never really seriously. It was always like the major singles, and I always liked her and her music. But Reputation, the marketing for that album, the experience of getting to see her perform some of those songs live at Jingle Bash, like that was just everything for me. And then I stayed up and listened to Lover, and then, you know, Folklore happened, and I was like, this is a different sound from Reputation and Lover and even 1989, which I listened to most of by that point. I was feeling very unsure about it, and then after like 24 hours, I was like, cool, we're here. And then immediately after more listens, I was like, this album's great. Because I was familiar with the sound of Folklore, I had fallen in love with that album after several months. I think it was easier for me to listen to Evermore and to get used to the sound. I knew what the sound was gonna be. And when I heard Willow for the first time, I just had the biggest smile on my face and I was like, oh my god, we're here, this is happening, we're doing this. It was just the best experience. I love the music video for Willow. It's so beautiful, and I love that it attaches to Cardigan and picks up where Cardigan left off. I thought that was so brilliant. I haven't gone back to watch the music video enough. I definitely need to go and watch it more because it's just easier for me to like play the song while I'm like in the shower or while I'm like doing chores and cleaning my dorm room or whatever. And to sit and watch the music video and really process it and dissect it, that's something that you need to do and set time aside for, and I don't often do that. The lyrics for this song are so good. I love the witchy vibes too. After listening to the song several times, I realized there's a very specific moment in my current work in progress where my love interest calls the protagonist a witch, and she responds, well then I must have you under my spell, and it's like a really cute flirty moment, and I was like, oh my god, this song is that moment in my work in progress. I love how this song gives off a vibe of just being in love. And particularly the line, life was a willow and it bent right to your wind. I feel like so much of folklore and Evermore as well is kind of about fate and about how every step you take is one step closer to the path that you need to be on, one step closer to where you need to be. And it feels like Willow very much connects to Invisible String, and you do see the invisible string in the music video. It's this sort of idea of like fate, and you are leaning towards a certain person, and that's like, you know, the person you're meant to be with, and it takes all of the mistakes and all of the learning curves and past relationships to sort of get you where you need to be. I think this whole album is really Taylor coming to acceptance with that and being able to find contentment, and that's so beautiful and moving to sort of see that whole development take place and to get to reflect on it and get to see it unfold in this album and in this song. I love the line, wreck my plans, that's my man. I love that because it makes me think about my work in progress as well, because my main character is a very work-oriented person, and then she meets her love interest, and that throws everything off for her because now her career-oriented life, that may not be something that she wants anymore for herself. And it's idea of like when you meet that person, everything else, all the plans that you have for yourself, the things that you expect for your future, go out the window, and that's beautiful. I love that. And we also have to talk about the line, I come back stronger than a 90s trend, because it's so true. So many people insult Taylor, there's constantly some feud, something, and you think every single time like this is gonna be it, and she always comes back because she has dedicated and loyal fans, she's a good person, and she is just crushing it. 5 out of 5 stars to Willow. This is one of my favorite songs off of Evermore. I love it so much. Champagne Problems. This song took a while to grow on me. I think it's because it's a sound that I'm not normally used to. I tend to like more poppy, upbeat songs, and like songs that you can really like sing along to, and there's just a certain vibe to. Like, that's one of the reasons why I like Reputation. It's just like bops, and they're the type of songs that you can imagine yourself singing in a stadium with hundreds of thousands of other people and just having that like communal experience. I realized that Champagne Problems is kind of that song. There was an interview that Taylor did where she said she's looking forward to being able to tour again and to be able to be in an arena with her fans, in a stadium with her fans, and to have that moment where she's performing this song and everyone shouts out the lyric, what a shame she's fucked in the head, they said. And now every time I listen to this song, I have that vivid image in my head of my 3 best friends next to me who are all Swifties and are pretty much the people that I share like all of my little Taylor experiences with, in this arena next to me, shouting out the lyrics and just imagining like how amazing that experience would be. And it's so interesting that a song about breakups and a song about somebody proposing marriage and the other person turning them down, something that's about 2 people breaking apart, is a communal experience for everyone to come together. I find that so cool. And this is arguably one of Taylor's best songs she's ever written. The bridge for Champagne Problems is gorgeous. It's stunning. I love all of the song, particularly starting from Dom Perignon, You Brought It, to the bridge. It's amazing how the bridge just goes so hard. Your Midas touch on the Chevy door, November flush, and your flannel cure. This dorm was once a madhouse. I made a joke, well it's made for me. As a resident advisor, that line really hits. Also, as someone born in November, it's the added, sometimes you just don't know the answer till someone's on their knees and asks you, she would have made such a lovely bride, what a shame she's fucked in the head, they said, but you'll find the real thing instead. She'll patch up your tapestry that I shred. That's so beautiful. It's this recognition that even though the narrator in this song broke their love interest's heart by leaving them, by abandoning them after they propose marriage, they have 2 very separate views, that there will be a somebody else who will heal, and that like this whole experience will eventually be just a thing in the past, and it won't be this present pain. It's also that sort of realization of this isn't somebody that you want to be with, that this isn't a commitment that you want to make until you are put in that situation where somebody is willing to put a ring on your finger and you realize, my God, I'm gonna have to be married to this person for the rest of my life. I'm gonna have to make a commitment to them, and I don't think I'm ready for that. I don't think I'm feeling that. This isn't actually what I want. And you thought you were in love with that person, then suddenly suddenly everything changes. And I mean, it's just such a beautiful way of conveying that and sort of realizing love is so complex and the feelings you have towards different people constantly change. You're going to have changing feelings. This thing that seems the end of the world and it seems so dramatic and life-changing is really just a champagne problem. Like it's a minor concern, and it will heal, and like the rifts will be sort of patched up, and you'll be able to eventually both move past it, and happiness touches on that as well, and we'll get to that. Track 3 is Gold Rush, my favorite song off of Evermore. I love this song. It's the reason why I'm wearing a gold sweater right now, because I love Gold Rush. So one of the things that I did for myself, and this was the Christmas gift that I made for me and my 3 Swiftie besties, I made these cute Taylor Swift chapter titles for some of the different songs off of Folklore and Evermore. So I did Gold Rush for mine. I have this cute little gold frame, and then I have the lyrics here, and there's like the page number at the bottom, a little image at the top, the chapter title, and then the title of the song. Talking about Gold Rush as a song. I love this song. I love this song. I would die for Gold Rush. It's so good, and some of the lyrics just are so personal for me. And I knew when Jack Antonoff and Aaron Dessner were tweeting out lyrics to songs. Jack Antonoff tweeted like Gold Rush forever, and I was like, oh my god, Jack Antonoff worked on Gold Rush. We're claiming this song. I knew it was gonna be my favorite off the album right away. It was. I was thinking Willow was my favorite for a while because I was just so thrilled watching that music video, but it's Gold Rush. Gold Rush is the favorite for sure. Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff just have some of the best collaborations in the world, and I would have liked to have seen more Jack Antonoff on this album, but this song is phenomenal. I think another reason why I like it is that it has direct ties to Gorgeous, and I love Gorgeous. It's one of my favorite songs off of Reputation, and it's this idea of you have this sort of fantasy of this person in your head. They're so beautiful. You feel like everybody wants them. These sentiments are expressed in Lover as well. You feel like you're not gonna be able to pursue that thing, and you're just worried that something's gonna mess it up. Everybody else wants you. I'm not gonna be enough. And you let all of these worries stop you from actually pursuing the real thing, and you realize this is just a fantasy in my head and it's never gonna be this perfect, and so I don't want to go out there and actually pursue it, because the minute you do, it becomes real and you can screw it up, and then you lose that fantasy in your head and you can never have that perfect thing that you hope for it to be. The lyrics are so beautiful. Especially the line, I see me padding across your wooden floors with my Eagles t-shirt hanging from the door. Like, for me, that personally, it hits. Everybody wants you, everybody wonders what it would be like to love you. I don't like the falling feels like flying to the bone crush. Everybody wants you, but I don't like a gold rush. I mean, who writes stuff like that? It's just poetic, cinema, it's gorgeous. I think the line that most people freaked out at when they listened to the song for the first time was my mind turns your life into folklore, because like 2 different interpretations you can take from this. There's a very little one of my mind turns your life into folklore album, because we've never got a direct reference to the word folklore in Folklore. We got passed down like folk songs in 7, but we never got the word folklore, and now we are getting references to both album titles in Evermore. And then there's the other interpretation of my mind turns your life into folklore, that you create a story out of this person, you realizing that you can never be, that you can never pursue it. It's so beautiful. And I love that the outro is the same as, you know, the intro. Imagine this all sort of being a fantasy. Like if you have a music video, it's like Taylor like on a ship of waters, looking into the waters, and then you get the whole sort of like imagery of what like this sort of happy thing could be, this fantasy, and then you know the end comes out of it. Like there's such music video potential for this song. I see it in my mind. Song is beautiful. I love it. Track 4, Tis the Damn Season. So this song to me, and I'm surprised nobody's made this comparison, feels like River by Joni Mitchell. It just has that sort of sad Christmassy vibes, and I think that it's interesting because Taylor released Christmas Tree Farm in 2019, and that was a very happy, upbeat Christmas song, and now it's 2020 and the world is different, and so now we're getting a sad Christmas song. The whole sort of theme behind this song is somebody who's left and went out to LA and is now coming home for the holidays and wants to rekindle their relationship with their old flame. And it's this whole idea of setting everything aside, let bygones be bygones, let the past be the past. We can call it even, 'tis the damn season, write this down. You can call me babe for the weekend. This idea of just going for it and not letting the past stop you. I love this song. This song feels particularly like a song that was written for booktubers. It's just that on point, particularly the line, and I have Genius lyrics pulled up here because I want to quote the lyrics correctly, even though I do know them, I just don't want to mess it up. So I'll go back to LA, the so-called friends who write books about me if I ever make it. I mean, reference to books, literature, anything, the song owns me, okay? And then there's the line, the road not taken looks real good now. Taylor so much equates life and a journey as like being a pathway, going down different paths, something doesn't work. And so this relationship with this person, this path you didn't take because you decided to leave, it looks good now. Like, down, explore that. It's sort of explore your options. Don't feel like you're confined to just one thing. You grow and you learn, you make mistakes, and you have to do those things in order to get where you need to be. Now we get to track 5, which is Tolerated. So I think everyone for the most part agrees, like the first 4 tracks on Evermore are solid, like everyone loves those songs. And then people get to track 5 and this is where they start to pitter out. I really love Tolerated, and this song has grown on me a lot, especially as I've looked over the lyrics and I've really sat with the story. And I think that this song seems to sort of have the most universal carryover to all of the other different songs on the album. And I mean, it's like beautiful how every song on Evermore ties together and they all reference back to each other, and it's this like beautiful little puzzle. Tolerated to me just seems like one of the songs generally that has a little bit more of the universal theme. And this whole song is about being in a relationship where you feel like you're not being fully loved, and you're kind of deciding, like, do you continue to tolerate that or do you walk away? And how does your partner respond when you do decide to make that decision, if you do decide to make that decision to walk away? And does that change everything, and can you not fix that and not come back from that if you really care about this person and want to be with them but feel like you deserve better? The interesting thing about this song is that there's sort of 2 sides to the Tolerated. It's, do you tolerate being treated in that certain way? And then there's the person who's sort of doing the tolerating and is tolerating you. So it's kind of interesting that the song sort of is both dynamic of doing the tolerating and feeling tolerated, if that makes sense. In this song, it's so beautiful in the way that it's constructed. I sit and watch you reading with your head low. I wake and watch you breathing with your eyes closed. I sit and watch you. I notice everything you do or don't do. You're so much older and wiser. And this idea of like this person feels like they carry this thing on you, this weight. You're older, you're wiser, and it's so much more difficult to talk to that person because you feel like they have this experience you don't have, and you feel like maybe immature, you feel childish for complaining about it, like maybe I have no right to complain about this, maybe I'm just making it a bigger deal than it needs to be. And then the bridge, because Taylor's bridges are brilliant. I made you my temple, my mural, my sky. No, I'm begging for footnotes in the story of your life, drawing hearts in the byline, always taking up too much space or time. You assume I find, but what would you do if I break free and leave us in ruins, took this dagger in me and removed it? Believe me, I could do it. I can leave. Like, this doesn't hurt me to leave. Like, this is an action I can take, but how do you respond to it? And the beautiful thing about this song is it starts and ends the exact same way with I sit and watch you. You're bottling all these things up. You're not actually saying it. You're just sitting and watching and letting this all happen and sort of internalizing this pain rather than speaking up about it. And that's some profound shit right there. I love that this song, and I don't know how accurate this is, but it's an interpretation that people have had, it sort of applies to the LGBTQ plus community and how a lot of people just tolerate them and the way that they love rather than openly embracing them for loving another human being. And obviously Taylor's been very vocal about her stance on LGBTQ issues with a song like You Need to Calm Down, which feels like a lot more direct. And a song like this does that very same thing while still sort of keeping within the storytelling format, the sort of narrative style that Folklore and Evermore are taking on. And I think that that's some really mature and brilliant storytelling. Track 6, No Body, No Crime. This song is so fun. I think it's by far the most country song on this album. And it's a nice little BuzzFeed Unsolved moment with Taylor watching her best friend be cheated on, and her basically retaliating and taking action against her husband once Esty confronts her husband and then ends up getting killed, and then Taylor's like, let's go murder a guy. And I mean, that's on feminism right there. And this song is just so fun. I love the Carrie Underwood, like, think before he cheats. You get the reference to like slash the hole in all four tires. I love the collaboration between Taylor and Haim on this song. It's such a great collaboration. I love particularly that with Taylor's collabs that she's bringing people in that she's either already friends with or people that she likes and wants to work with. Very much her being her own artist and picking the people that she wants to work with and the people who inspire her. And love the Olive Garden reference. All the Swifties gonna be showing up to Olive Garden once the pandemic is over. Happiness. This song, Taylor does this, and she did this with Peace as well, where she will take a song, think would have a certain connotation, and absolutely changes the meaning of it. So Happiness you would think would be like a happy, upbeat song, and this song is sad as hell, and that's sort of the same thing for Peace. You think about a song that's meant to be peaceful, and this song does sound peaceful, but it's about this idea of I can never give you peace. That absence of peace. Am I enough if I can't give you privacy, the things that you would want in a relationship that I can't give you because I'm a public figure? Happiness is about the happiness that exists before and after a relationship takes place. Taylor was in a relationship with somebody, happiness that was there, the relationship didn't end well, and instead of crossing out the good years, putting it all aside and thinking it was all a failure, it's like recognizing that there was happiness there, and we will have happiness again when we're in our own relationships. And it's amazing how some of the lyrics have really beautiful double meanings, where Taylor says, I haven't met the new me yet. That refers to I'm not sure who I'm becoming and what is next for me, but it's also I haven't met the new me, the person who's going to take my place. And I also love the Gatsby references. I hope she'll be a beautiful fool who takes my spot next to you. And Daisy says like she'll be a beautiful fool like just to live in ignorance and to not realize anything that's going on. Daisy's being cheated on, not have to live with that pain. Easier to just sit there and not know anything at all. That pain of like you watch somebody else taking your place, and even though that relationship is done, you still sort of longed for what you had before. And it also sort of harkens back to songs like Better Than Revenge, and Taylor sort of realizing like maybe that wasn't the best idea, saying no, I didn't mean that, sorry, I can't see facts through all of my fury, you haven't met the new me yet. I mean, that's huge, like her recognizing her own mistakes that she's made in the past. Better Than Revenge is a bop, like we all love that song, but we recognize that it's like not the best attitude that you want to have. Like you don't want to shame the girl in this relationship, you shame the guy for cheating, and you sort of just grow past it and be like, well, he wasn't the right person for me, not a fan of him. Taylor's maturity in that is really, really beautiful. See, and it's such a gorgeous song too. I love There'll Be Happiness After Me, but there was happiness because of me, but both of these things I believe there is happiness. So like that isn't mutually exclusive, the idea of there being happiness before and happiness after. Those two things can coexist, and I love that. And then All You Want From Me Now is the green light of forgiveness. And again, that's sort of a Gatsby thing referring to the green light. The green light is him like wanting Daisy, and he's not able to move past that, and he's just sort of stuck there wanting that thing. And I think that goes back to sort of right where you left me, that inability to move on after somebody else has moved on, and sort of then losing years of your life, losing opportunities, losing the opportunity to find somebody else, to find something better than that person who clearly had no interest in you and is going and is moving on with their life. I love this song and like the complexity of it, and I think this is another song that really ties into so many different aspects of the album really well. Oh man, this song has really grown on me. Like I'm starting to find myself liking the slower songs more because they're just the ones that are so lyrically rich, and this song is it's absolutely one of those songs. Then we move on to track 8, which is Dorothea. So this song has definitely dropped in my ranking because there's so many really, really good songs on this album. Dorothea is essentially just a song about friendship, and for me, like when I listened to the song the first few times, it really hit me because I've never been in any romantic relationships, but I've gone through lots of difficult issues with friendships, and there being different seasons for friendships, and the realization, people that are going to come into your life and people who are going to leave, and then there's people who are going to stay, and those are the people that your best friends, the people who will be in your wedding, and the people who you'll share your favorite moments with. So the people where you're spending like a significant chunk of your life and then they just sort of disappear, how do you handle that? I had a group of friends that I was friends with for like 4 years in high school, and I went to dances with them and did all these major things with them. Now we're in college and suddenly like I don't talk to any of these people anymore. Do I throw all of those years away? You can harken back back to happiness with that. And that's another thing that's so great about Taylor's songs, is that the themes in them are universal and you can apply them to relationships in general, whether it be romantic, whether it be a workplace relationship that you have, a friendship, a mentor-mentee relationship. I think in some instances you can take songs and extrapolate, and I think for me, Dorothy was a song going through friend things was really personal for me, and so I was really touched by it. But I think it's definitely one of the weaker songs on the album. In my mind, this song is the novelization of It's Nice to Have a Friend. It's Nice to Have a Friend is a poem, and Dorothea is a novel, and I think that it's nice to sort of have that. Track 9, Coney Island. This is another one that took a while to grow on me, and the more that I listened to it, I was like, so good. This song, a lot of people have come up with this theory that there's different lyrics that refer to each of Taylor's past relationships. The whole thing is sort of her coming and confronting these past relationships and realizing that she played a fault in them. You can't just place all the blame on the significant other, and sort of recognizing your own role in how some of these relationships fall apart. I love the line in the very beginning, and if this is a long haul, how did we get here so soon? I think you can even relate this to the pandemic. Going on to the pre-chorus, I'm sitting on a bench on Coney Island wondering where did my baby go? The fast times, the bright lights, the merry-go. Sorry for not making you my centerfold. Coney Island is normally on a normal day when we're not in a pandemic, lots of life around, bright lights, chaos, like magic, all of this, and suddenly now it's shut down and completely empty, and you're really not seeing much of anybody. And you wonder, how did we get here so soon? Like, how did we end up in this point? And you're kind of forced to become really introspective and reflect, like, what role did I play in this? What things was I valuing before that I shouldn't have been putting as much value on? What things did I not value enough that I should now, hopefully when we come out of this, learn to value more? It's an introspective moment that lots of people are happening, and for Taylor, it's looking at her past relationships now that she's in a healthy one and realizing I can learn from those mistakes so I don't make them again, and I can continue to maintain this happy and healthy relationship and not do anything to screw it up and not worry about screwing it up and letting that be the thing that's in the front of my head. Matt Berninger sounds fantastic on this song, and I'm really upset that there's a lot of people that are not a fan of his sound on this song, because I love it. And particularly there's the line, "And do you miss the rogue who coaxed you into paradise and left you there? Will you forgive my soul when you're too wise to trust me and too old to care?" Like, we get this reference to a lot of Taylor's love interest being older. Because of that, they feel like they move on easier, like they don't care about these things that she would maybe consider childish problems because she's younger, because she's sort of had different experience growing up than other people have had. Were you standing in the hallway with a big cake? Happy birthday. Did I paint your bluest skies the darkest gray? A universe away. I love Taylor's bridges on this album. I just love the sound of that. I love this song. I know I'm saying this about every song on this album, and I'll give you my ranking at the end. This song, I listened to it and I was like, this sounds great, but I had a difficult time wrapping my mind around what was happening in this song. And so you have a wife that is cheating on her husband with somebody else, and she starts to realize she has feelings for this lover and wants to pursue the relationship with this lover, and now worries about what her husband will think and the consequences of cheating. And so you get so many different songs, both off of both Folklore and Evermore, that are about cheating from so many different perspectives, and it feels like every angle is touched upon, and it's a really complex and nuanced look on the subject in a way that I feel like no other artist has ever done before. This is the other Jack Antonoff song we have on this album, and obviously he collaborated with Aaron Dessner on this, so this isn't a solo Jack Antonoff track. Gold Rush is the only one of those. I love the sound of this song. Track 11 is Cowboy Like Me. This is my least favorite song off of the album, but I think the bridge is probably the part that's the most worth talking about in the 4th verse. So when the skeletons of both our closets plotted hard to fuck this up. This feels like this part of the song goes back to Reputation and the idea of, like, I had a bad reputation, but you must like me for me, and how that whole past could easily F any of this up at any point in time. And I think that's sort of similar to all of Taylor's past relationships. Like, the skeletons in our closets did fuck it up. And the old men that I've swindled really did believe I was the one. So again, throwing back to all of these past relationships, that those people that she was with believed that could have been it, that could have been like the person they got married to, the person they spent the rest of their life with. She sort of conned them, played with them, and you sort of get references to that in Reputation, although it feels like she's more taking on the stereotype that people have put on of her rather than being really genuine, but also maybe some recognition that some of those things may be true. And now you hang from my lips like the gardens of Babylon, with your boots beneath my bed, forever is the sweetest con. I'm obsessed with this lyric. If you want to pick a lyric that you feel like is the defining lyric of Evermore, despite this being my least favorite track on the album, This is the defining lyric of Evermore, in my opinion, because so much of this album is the recognition that forever is so meaningless and such an abstract definition of time, because what is forever? You feel like you're gonna be going through something forever and then it's not and you come out of it, or something that feels like it's only going to be such a short moment of time and lasts a lot longer than you think. The idea of forever is so meaningless, is just constantly kind of a reminder to not think about things in terms of time. And now that we're in a pandemic, time has become meaningless and irrelevant. Right now it feels like this pandemic is gonna go on forever. We're never gonna get out of this, but there'll be a time when we do and things will get better. It'll feel like this forever that we were living in now was a blip. You gotta savor what you have while you have it, and to not worry about, am I going to mess this up? Is this gonna last forever? Live in the moment. Don't think about the rest. And that's obviously easier said than done. Those are the things you need to tell yourself if you wanna be in a healthy relationship. If you wanna be able to just function day to day, you can't be thinking about months from now. And I think for Taylor, that's something that she always thinks about, because she's the type of person who always plans things years in advance and has years of her life planned in advance and constantly has to plan out each little detail, and she's done that, and that's like a really successful tool for her as an artist. But now I think she's getting to the point where she's like not gonna plan anything out anymore, not gonna mark dates on the calendar, not gonna do the super elaborate shit anymore because it's not worth it. Moving on to track 12, which is Long Story Short. This is probably in my top 3 of the songs off of Evermore, and I think once you see my ranking, you can very much get an idea of like my style and which sounds I tend to prefer. But I love this song because it feels like an anthem for 2020. It's this sort of realization of like, we go through stuff and then you work through it and you end up better on the other side. Looking back on it, semi-grateful that you had those experiences because they taught you something and they prepared you for now how to handle any other new situation that comes your way. I love what Taylor does. She will take a lyric in her song that she will introduce in the very beginning, and then she'll slightly flip it towards the end to give it a new meaning. So in Long Story Short, the lyric is, if the shoe fits, walk in it till your high heels break. You wear it until it breaks and then you throw it out and then you move on. The lyric, when it appears back in the song again, in the 3rd verse, if the shoe fits, walk in it everywhere you go. Such a big difference, because you're not wearing it until it breaks, you're wearing it until it's worn out. You think of like your favorite pair of shoes that you wear and you beat them to death, but you still wear them anyway, even if there's holes in them, even if they're scuffed. You love those pair of shoes because they're like a comfort to you. They feel like home, and that's the line right before that. And Taylor like associates her love with home. Like that imagery of something being worn and loved and feeling like home and you embrace it, like that's such beautiful imagery. And that particularly, that 3rd verse I really love. Past me, I want to tell you not to get lost in these petty things. Your nemesis will defeat themselves before you get the chance to swing. A lot of people who don't like Taylor complain that so much of her music is about all these different feuds and the drama. They just don't like that. They feel like it's petty bullshit and they don't have any interest. I personally disagree, and I think it's a lot more complex than that. It's Taylor sort of realizing, looking back at all those different eras of her life, she could have saved herself so much pain, so much trouble if she just stepped out of it. Because if you think about like who those lyrics are specifically referring to, Kanye, Scooter, Scott, those guys undeniably are assholes. I don't feel bad saying it because I fundamentally believe it. I think we all do, and I don't think that it takes a lot of evidence to prove that. Those people will do something terrible themselves that will get everybody to wake up and realize like they're just not a good person. Let the bad people destroy themselves because they inevitably always do. And we live in peace, but if someone comes at us this time, I'm ready. It's that learning curve. And I love we live in peace. It refers back to peace on Folklore, which is like, I can never give you peace. And now it's like that realization of maybe we can have that. I don't get caught up in all the bullshit. It's that realization of like, if I do again, I'm ready. I know how to handle it. It's not gonna be the same thing this time. So much of what I love about Evermore is that it's all about healing. It's about learning from your mistakes, then looking forward now into this new, more hopeful future where you have learned, leaving all your past mistakes behind. You're like looking at, you know, some experiences fondly that you maybe would have looked at with hatred or bitterness, having sort of closure, leaving that all behind, running towards this new happiness and running towards this new forever. And this song is just so fun. I love like the boppy vibes to it. Track 13 is Marjorie, and the sister track to this song on Folklore is Epiphany, and that's about Taylor's grandfather, so naturally Marjorie is about Taylor's grandmother. And this song feels like the most universal song on the album. It's essentially about wishing you had spent more time with a loved one while you had them, but still feeling like their presence is with you even if they're gone. And I think we can all go through that. I know for me, I thought about my grandfather when I was listening to this song because I didn't appreciate the time with him I had nearly enough, and I feel like all the things that I could have had conversations with him about, like Broadway musicals and Shakespeare, his life experiences, or things that I wouldn't have appreciated until I was older, till I was at the end of my high school experience, until I'm now in college and have started to find an interest in those things. With the pandemic going on, so many people are thinking about death and losing their loved ones, and we're not able to hold them close and really relish them in the way that we would like to anymore. And I know so many people who have lost loved ones in this past year, and it's so devastating because it makes you so aware of death and the inevitability of it. And to write a song like this, it's so powerful and beautiful, and is such a reminder of why it's so important to, cherish the moments you have with your loved ones, have conversations with them, talk to your grandparents, ask them questions because you only have them for so long. A really, really beautiful and universal sentiment, and the lyrics in the song are just so poetic. What died didn't stay dead, you're alive in my head. I really love that because it's that idea of even though somebody's dead, they still live on, and that's a really, really powerful sentiment, and that's sometimes what you need to say to yourself if you feel like you're really missing somebody. And I think you have those moments where you genuinely feel it and believe it. I should have asked you questions. I should have asked you how to be, asked you to write it down for me, should have kept every grocery store receipt because every scrap of you would be taken from me. And the grocery store receipt particularly hit me because the one thing that I did with my grandfather a lot was take him grocery shopping, and sometimes that's so tedious going down every single aisle, and there's days where you're just like, I do not want to do this, like I want to be at home doing something else. Cherish those things, like should cherish the going down the aisles, the talking, the conversations, and you can't do that anymore. I think this is a really, really beautiful song, and obviously the most personal on this album. Track 14, Closure. So this song is again towards the bottom of my ranking. Closure is a song that is growing on me though. Like the banging pots and pans sounds is so different than any other sound on Evermore, but it kind of has those pissed off vibes, and I love that because it feels the most reminiscent to the Reputation era. And it's sort of this idea of rejecting closure from somebody else in a past relationship. It doesn't matter what the songs are about for Taylor's personal life because she's so clearly moved past that. When you know the meaning, it's easier to dissect it and sort of understand the lyrics and sort of what the intention is behind the song. Clearly this is about Taylor's relationship with Scooter and Scott, Big Machine, and everything that's happened to her, because that's been so big. And a lot of artists are with her on this, that you should be able to own your masters and you should be able to own the work that you create. I got your letter, yes, I'm doing better. I know that it's over, I don't need your closure. So it's saying like, I don't need you to apologize. I've either A, moved on, or recognized the fact that this is disingenuous and therefore don't need it from you. And that's really, really powerful, and again feels like another really personal song. And that's one of the things that I love about what Taylor's done with this album, is that she's focusing on more narrative storytelling, but all the songs have a very personal element to them, and I love that. The line, I can feel you smoothing me over, is like another sort of acknowledgement that you're just trying to fix this because it'll look better for your image, and you're not actually realizing how much pain this caused me. You're not really recognizing that what I've had to go through was painful. You're just sort of wanting to make this all go away for yourself. Like, this is something we've all had to deal with in our lives. Somebody who has been a conflict in your life, somebody who's caused an issue, somebody who's deeply hurt you, and then they try to just sort of smooth it all over and act like everything's fine. And it's so interesting to me because this album, one of the big universal themes of it is closure, but yet this is a song right here that is sort of like closure in quotation marks because it's not really closure. Track 15, Evermore. So this is our title track, and it is the last track on the album. This song, like really the one big part I want to focus on, the lines where you get the title of the song, I had a feeling so peculiar that this pain would be forevermore. And then you get to the end of the song, and I was catching my breath, floors of the cabin creaking under my step, and I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar this pain wouldn't be forevermore. So you have the switch, this realization of when you're going through something, it feels like the pain is going to last forever, but it doesn't. And then you come out of it and you realize that the pain won't be forevermore. Sort of again, like forever is the sweetest con, tying back to Cowboy Like Me. When you're going through something that's so brutal brutal. It feels all consuming. It feels like you're never gonna get out. And this is a really beautiful realization of like coming out of that dark period and being able to have a healthier perspective on life. Taylor and Justin together, so beautiful. And I love that Exile is the lower register and then Evermore is more of the higher register, and you get to see both sides. Like, Justin Vernon has a beautiful voice and I love his sound on this. I don't know which one I like more. I feel like these songs both accomplish very different purposes for me, and I think they're both beautifully sounding, and I think it's really difficult to compare them. I love that when you get to the second bridge and you have the canon that's going on, that there's sort of a build-up, like you can feel the tension building up, and then you get to the end and Taylor has that line, "You were there." Feels like a wave like crashing on a beach, and it feels very peaceful, and it feels very hopeful, and it feels ethereal, and it's hope again. It's coming like new life, and it feels very optimistic, and it feels like good days are on the horizon, and that's beautiful tonally, like what that song is doing there. There's so many things that are going on in Taylor's songs. And Aaron Dessner, I gotta give him a brief shout out because I haven't yet in this. His work on this is brilliant, and his instrumentation and the way that he just creates music, it sounds a certain way, and that in itself is enough to move you to tears. So now we have the two bonus tracks. Track 16 is Right Where You Left Me. This song feels like a very similar sentiment to what Taylor has expressed before, which is this idea of like being a celebrity, and being a celebrity at such a young age and a public figure. Everybody is watching every little move that you make. So it feels like you're in a bubble, and it's a lot more difficult to learn and to be able to grow and to be able to figure out the things that people figure out easily. Every little step you take is somebody is scrutinizing or judging, and so you're not able to just have the normal learning curve that somebody else will. It feels like there's so much higher stakes and so many higher consequences for every tiny little mistake that you make, and you feel like you're also, if you're like Taylor and you're a creative person, you're investing a lot more of yourself in every single relationship, and it's more likely that you're gonna get hurt and you're gonna feel it more because everybody else is watching the hurt, and that makes it worse. Can't imagine what that must be like for her. Breakups happen every day. You don't have to lose it. She's still 23 inside of her fantasy. 23 was when like 1989 happened, and she was at the peak of her success, and you're kind of stuck there. And so even though the breakups happen every day, it is like a lose it situation because she's not experiencing the same experiences that we all are. I mean, that changes how you perceive the entire world and the way that the world perceives you. And it feels very similar to Mirror Ball. And the mirror ball is always spinning, and then you shut it off, you walk away, and you come back, and it's still right where you left it. And then track 17, It's Time to Go. This song made me tear up when I was listening to it. I feel like with both the bonus tracks, it took me a while to really process them. And once I really got to sit and process and read the lyrics and kind of sit with the messaging, these songs hit me. And I think it's interesting because Right Where You Left Me and It's Time to Go feel like very much inverses of each other, because Right Where You Left Me is the person staying there in the trauma, not being able to grow, and It's Time to Go is the snapping out of it moment where you grow and you realize to not tolerate it anymore. Sometimes giving up is a strong thing, sometimes to run is the brave thing, sometimes walking out is the one thing that will find you the right thing. And that doesn't make sense a lot of times because we're taught keep pushing, keep going, never give up, and eventually you start to burn yourself out, and you do that because that's what society tells you to do. But oftentimes it's better to walk away, it's better to explore new avenues, and you know when it's time to go. Like, you know deep inside your soul, this isn't gonna work out anymore, that I should not put in my effort in, and you decide to not tolerate it anymore. But you need to know what is the best thing for you to do, and you need to stick with that and follow your gut, because sometimes that is the best thing. And like the way that this was written, it would make sense to rhyme strong with wrong. Leaving is, it's the right thing. Like, that's so cool the way that that's written. 15 years, 15 million tears, begging till my knees bled. I gave it my all, he gave me nothing at all. Then he wondered why I left. Now he sits on his throne in his palace of bones, praying to his greed. He's got my past frozen behind glass, but I've got me. So clear to any Taylor fan what that is about. He may own those songs that I've written, he may have my masters. I can go and re-record all of that, I can go and make new stuff. I am in control of my own destiny, and sitting here and letting this bother me and letting it eat me alive is not how I grow. So it's time to go, time to explore, do new things, and time for new opportunities. Like, I think this is like the end of a chapter. As much as I love the idea of there being a third album, and like because so much of this album operates in threes, and I feel like we're closing the book and we're gonna get re-recordings, and then we'll maybe get another new Taylor album in however many years. But I feel like this is a big creative renaissance for Taylor because she's overcoming these obstacles that she's always had, and I think being in the pandemic has been huge for her, being able to overcome those obstacles and being able to just do new wild things that she never would have done before and experiment with her style and feel free to break conventions and not have to follow the same patterns, because her fans are going to stick with her through all of it, and she's going to continue to make masterpieces because she's just a brilliant writer. Okay, so now for my ranking. I'm gonna read all of the songs off and then I'll post the picture of my ranking. Number 17 is Cowboy Like Me. Number 16 is Dorothea. Number 15 is Closure. Number 14 is Evermore. Number 13 is Right Where You Left Me. Number 12 is It's Time to Go. 11 is Happiness. 10 is Marjorie. 9 is Tolerated. 8 is No Body No Crime. 7 is Coney Island. 6 is Ivy. 5 is 'Tis the Damn Season. 4 is Champagne Problems. Number 3 is Long Story Short. Willow is number 2 and Gold Rush is number 1. So that ranking is flexible. My rankings change all of the time, but that's my general ranking, and then I'll give you my overall ranking, which I've never done before. So number 9 is Debut, number 8 is Fearless, number 7 is Red, number 6 is Speak Now, number 5 is 1989, number 4 is Lover, number 3 is Folklore, number 2 is Evermore, and number 1 is Reputation. So that is all of my thoughts, opinions, and feels on Evermore. I'm feeling good about this video. We're gonna go, we're gonna edit it. You are going to get to see this footage. It is not going to sit on my SD card forever. It may be long, we may be splitting this video into 2 parts. Either way, you will get the footage and you will get the content. If you have watched till the end, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow me on social media, like, subscribe, comment, let me know that you're interested in this content, what you want to see from me next. Hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time in a new one. Goodbye!